Hello, I'm Chuck Wolf, Chief Executive for Charles J. Wolf Associates, LLC. As a motivational speaker and a leadership consultant and executive coach and trainer, I often work with very successful people in their companies. Since many can't afford a professional, I volunteer to host a radio talk show called The Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel, on a nonprofit community radio station in Bridgeport, Connecticut, WPKN. My reason for doing the show is to share with as many people as possible this wonderful process for helping people manage their own emotions and their relationships with others. My goal is for everyone listening to learn to use the Emotion Roadmap to make life better. As you listen to me, help others, I hope you are also learning. As a Simsbury resident, I'm delighted to be able to make the show available through Simsbury TV. To learn more, go to my website, www.emotionroadmap.com. Thank you for listening and watching. And this is Chuck Wolf. Welcome to the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. Hope you enjoyed listening to iMessiah's show as I did. I always do as I'm riding in on the way in to do the show today. Today's show, I'm going to be talking about the Emotion Roadmap, just what it is, and to give you a little bit of a history of that. Last time I was on, last week, I talked about this emotion called pride and being proud, and really I got a lot of phone calls. It was really kind of a fun show. A lot of people talked about what it means to be proud of others, of yourself, of your country. It was really a kind of a fascinating show. I'd like to do a show this week that also kind of focused on the topic. And the topic this week I'd like to have you thinking about while I'm talking about the Emotion Roadmap is just a little bit about this idea of how to take control of the emotions you're feeling. The show again is Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel. It's called the Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel. And I know there's a lot of sadness, even anger, about many things happening in the world today. And one of the things I'd like to focus on is, what are you doing as a volunteer? What are you doing to make life better for people? And I want to share a few stories about people that I know that are really working to make a difference. Some of the things that I'm doing to try to make a difference. But I'd also love to hear from you about, what are you doing to make the world a better place? Because one of the ways that people can move themselves from sadness and from depression and from even anger about situations that feel sort of out of their control, about situations that are happening that make you feel sad, and there's a lot of sadness out there, as you're all aware, I'm sure. What can you do? What can you do to turn that around? And one of the things is to do something as a volunteer for others. To do something where you make a difference somehow for others. And if you've got some stories about what you're doing, I think in your sharing them and why you find that it's meaningful for you and for others, hopefully it gives lots of other people who are listening ideas about what they can be doing. Because when I find when you start doing something for someone else, you start feeling better about life in general. You start feeling great about the fact that maybe you helped somebody else out. And you also start feeling better about yourself and about the world that you live in, because you're doing something to make the world a better place. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and for listening. It's always special to know that there's a group of people that really like to listen to this show, and that they like to tune in on Wednesdays. I'm on the first and second Wednesday of each month from 12 noon to 1 p.m. And it's nice to know that there's a group of people out there that just really like to tune in and listen on a regular basis. But I also know that often there are people that are maybe just driving through, or they just had a chance to turn on the radio today. They listen to PKN all the time, but they haven't caught my show at 12 noon on Wednesdays, on the first and second Wednesdays of each month, until just now. And so if you're wondering what the show's about, the show is about having you call in if you've got something on your mind that you'd like to talk to me about that is challenging you. A situation where you find yourself a little stuck, not sure how to proceed, doubtful, uncertain, confused, upset perhaps, or worried about a situation that you're involved in that may escalate if you bring it to the other person's attention that you're dealing with, or to the group's attention. So if you've got something on your mind that has to do with a relationship with someone else, whether it's something at work where you may have challenging situation with the person you work for, or someone who works for you, or someone you work with. Or it's something at home with a loved one, or at least a family member, a community member, friend, neighbor, something happening in your world, in your life, where you're just really kind of confused about how to proceed. So I like to call those emotionally challenging situations. And one of the things that I've discovered through this new science of emotional intelligence and lots of other life experiences and learnings I've had is that you can be more in control of the feelings that you have. That's the concept behind take the wheel and control how you feel. The idea of having control over your feelings is really kind of unique. But I want to explain it in terms of this concept of an emotion roadmap. Well, I always come prepared to talk about a topic of some kind that relates to emotions and to feelings. I also really want to be here for you as a community to be able to answer your questions. So if you've been waiting to call me and you've got something that you really want to talk to me about, and you're a fan of the show and you know how the show works, and you've got something where you call me and I walk you through this concept of an emotion roadmap, then you already know that the role of my helping you is in part to help you specifically deal with your situation, while at the same time, I want everybody who's listening to be learning how to use this emotion roadmap to help people in their lives or to help themselves. Because when you call and you share your situation, I know that you might feel your situation is unique to you, but oftentimes people really identify with what you call and talk about. And so while I'm helping you, I'm also helping them. The most important gift I want to give back to the community is this idea that there is an emotion roadmap that helps you understand how you can move yourself from unwanted feelings, feelings that are not helpful, to feelings that are more productive, that better feelings, even ideal feelings. Help you to identify what you are feeling, what would be ideal to feel, and how to get there. That's the idea of a roadmap, is how do you get from one feeling to another? One feeling that isn't helpful to one feeling that's incredibly useful. How do you do that? And that's what I've created, and that's what I hope people learn as they listen regularly to the show. Sometimes I'd like to take a step back and kind of explain a little bit about what it is, how it works, and then have you call. But if you want to call right away, I'm going to give you the number, because my best shows are the shows where people call and I'm actually doing it. So the number to call is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. Well, let me tell you a little bit about then the emotion roadmap and what it is and how it works. First of all, there's a science out there called emotional intelligence. You've heard me talk about this before if you've listened before. But I want to give you kind of an overview. I think that's helpful to consider. So there's this sense that you can measure this emotional intelligence. And like an IQ score, you can get a total score of emotional intelligence. And in getting a score, the scores are broken up into two parts. One is your experiential ability, and the other is your strategic ability. Well, I've got my first phone caller. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Hi.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Peggy Taylor.
Oh, Peggy, that's fine. Hi, Peggy. Thanks for calling. How can I help you today?
I tuned into your station, and your show just spoke to me. My husband and I are going through a horrendous situation right now with our adopted daughter.
You want to tell me a little bit about it, and maybe I can help?
Yeah. Let me just see if I can get you. We recently had to give her up to the state, and it was really hard. We're both feeling very guilty and yet relieved after many years.
Excuse me, Peggy. I think you've got an echo. Do you have your radio on? Maybe you could turn it down.
I do. radio. I'll turn it off.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Thanks.
Okay, so we struggled with her for years. We got her when she was 4. She was always a pretty busy kid. But she came with some baggage, being an adopted child. Anyways, by high school, she was a train wreck. Experiencing drugs, doing things, just stealing and drinking, and just very angry behavior, and she got to be really hard to live with, very unpredictable, pretty explosive. I don't really know the word for that, but you never knew what you were going to come home to, what she was going to come in the door with. So, long story short, she was removed from the high school that she was enrolled in for being arrested and fighting. And then after a few times of that, she was outplaced to another school for the remainder of the year, which she did well at, with a more therapeutic school. So that ended that year, and then the following year we moved to a new town, started over at a different high school, started out good, pretty good. She had an IEP, and they were really, working with her, and she was seeing therapists, Clifford Beer's clinic in New Haven. So now, by mid-fall, the behavior started ramping up again. So, end of the story is that she got arrested for the 3rd time, and she ran away. Actually, she ran away. And we didn't go get her at the hospital when they found her. So, we have given her up to the state. She is now in D.C.F. custody. So, that's where we are now. After 13 years of having her, it's very emotional. We miss her. We want the best for her. Yet, my husband and I are 60 and 63. She's 16.
Right.
So that's where we're at, and we're struggling.
Right. So you're feeling okay. So you're feeling a loss. You're feeling sad. You're feeling I don't know. You might have said guilty in the beginning. I don't know if you feel that too, but
oh yeah.
Yeah. So all those kind of things. And was this the only child that you raised?
No, we have a daughter who's in college. She's 21.
Uh-huh.
I worry about her too. They didn't have the best relationship. They did okay younger-wise, but there was kind of a parting of the ways where they just really didn't get along.
Right. So let me just understand, the situation with this other young girl is completely over. Is it done? Is it a done deal that you're not getting her back and that's the end of it?
That's what we want to keep. Yes, that's what we want to do. We think it's better for her in the long run to not be with us. I think she will just fall back into the pattern again. She's a pretty manipulative person. So it just took an emotional drain on me. I ended up, in the hospital, with anxiety and pretty bad thoughts in my head,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So all the things that you're feeling now are pretty obvious and probably pretty much what anybody would feel. You went into it with the best of intentions. You tried really hard. You even moved to town. You gave up something with your own biological daughter by bringing this person in, and sounds like that didn't work out as well as you had hoped, and now it's kind of finished, and it feels kind of empty and sad and guilty and angry and all that stuff all bottled up. And I imagine your husband's feeling, is he feeling exactly the same, or there's some differences in terms of how he's feeling?
Yeah, there's some differences. He gets weepy. He he wanted to get to the age of 18 and then say, okay, we've done it, but it didn't. We didn't make it to that time frame. It just we can't keep holding out to that, and
Right.
he feels like a failure. We both do.
Right.
And he wishes for the family that we could be whole, but it was so disruptive and so, I can't think of a word that puts it all in one lump, but yeah. Our marriage suffered, but we're pretty strong people as far as that goes.
And have you folks got any kind of counseling for yourselves going through this?
During this process, no, I have gone through lots of counseling.
Yeah.
I have. And when we were going through this, I suggested he come or go to see my counselor because she's been pretty good at guiding me, and yeah.
So one of the reasons I asked the question was because, sometimes you get some lessons that are coming from the counseling, and so I don't want to repeat that. So are there some things that are helping you right now that are coming from the counselor?
I don't see her only when I need her. So
Okay.
I haven't seen her since we did this back in April.
Right.
I went to see her, and yeah.
Okay, so
I could call her tomorrow and I could go see her.
yeah, so but you heard the show and you thought maybe this might be helpful. So let me talk you through this. So basically, it starts with what's your situation. We've got a pretty good handle on that. You had you and your husband wanted to do something really wonderful for the world. I think it's great to try and adopt somebody. I really think it's an outstanding event when somebody reaches out to a child that has no place and nobody, and is troubled, and yet you're willing to deal with the trouble and in hopes of turning it around. And you struggled with it for a whole number of years, and you put your own family relationships at risk to a degree by bringing this person in, and you wanted to make it to 18, and you didn't quite make it 18, but you got to 16. So
right.
what we don't know is what might have happened to that young woman if you hadn't intervened. I mean, maybe she's still alive because you had her for these years. Who knows?
Right.
But one of the things that you want to think about is, okay, so I'd like to feel, what would you like to feel going forward? What would be ideal to feel? And does something pop in your mind at all about that? I mean, in terms of how would you like to feel about what you did with the best intentions? It didn't work out obviously quite the way you wanted it to, but you did something wonderful for the world. I mean, maybe it didn't work out so great for this girl, but you did something that makes the world a better place in my mind by trying to do what you did. And so what could you feel? What might you feel? What would you want to feel?
Well, I do want to be happy, and I guess I am to a certain degree. What do I want to feel? Peace. I want to feel at peace with what happened and how we proceeded.
So at peace is part of it. I wonder if you might. I mean, to me, it's kind of like if you could at some point feel proud of what you did.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. I never thought of that word.
But think about what it means to you, because I mean, you and your husband did something terrific in my mind. And when the young girl had a family to go home to, she didn't make it. I mean, in terms of failure, I don't know that you folks failed. I think she failed.
Yeah.
I mean, she couldn't take advantage of the good, stable home that you wanted to provide to her, the loving and the caring and support. Whatever was going on for her, somehow she couldn't accept it.
Right. I know she's got her own, diagnosis,
Okay.
that holds her back, and she needs a lot of therapy that, she didn't embrace, that we exposed her to for so many years. I don't know. I tried.
Well, I mean, and I think you can feel proud of making the effort. I think
Right.
I think the peace comes from trying to understand that, hey, we took our best shot at this. There's some lessons learned, but you're in the place. You're not going to do this again. Not at the age you're at. So
No.
that's done. But I think that we did something that we thought was going to make the world a better place. We weren't as successful as we had hoped, but we feel good that we tried. Because if more
Right.
people tried, again, if people listening to this are wondering, maybe who are thinking, should I adopt somebody? Because people are out there thinking, there's a lot of kids out there that don't really have homes. Should I take a
Right.
shot at this? And if they
Right.
feel like the end point is if you don't succeed, that you feel like a failure and you got all these, these guilt and anger and sadness and so forth built up, that's not an outcome you want for yourself. But if you can step back and try to plan, how can I start to feel proud of what I did?
Right.
How can I be at peace with the idea that, what we tried, all the things that we did, a lot of them were things that if I had to do them again, I'd do them the same way because I thought they were the right things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that I feel good about making the effort. I'm really sorry it didn't work out. But over time, if you could start to feel the pride that should come from an effort like this, and be at peace with the fact that there was something going on for this girl that just didn't allow all of that to happen, but that
Right.
a lot of the things you did were the right things to do, and you can feel
Right.
proud of that. And at some point, what you want to feel is at peace with, we gave this our best shot.
Right. Well, that's what I would like to feel, yes.
So then the question becomes, is there, one of the things, this is kind of a funny metaphor, if you will, but you know how people feel when they lose a dog and,
Yeah.
something they love, and then, if they're in a place where they can get another puppy, they get a puppy and they bring the puppy in, and it's like, not that they ever forget about the first dog, but the puppy kind of just like takes them to another place.
Right.
So,
okay.
I'm not saying get a puppy, but I am saying, you folks are people that want to do something nice and special for the world. And I wonder if you might find something else that you could do. I don't know what that is. And it's something that you and your husband need to talk about. And I don't mean that it's another kid,
No.
but it might be being a big brother, big sister, taking somebody out on occasion. It might not even be with children. It might be in a soup kitchen or something where you just
Right.
feel like you're doing something for the community, because that's part of who you are. And while you might have failed in the sense that this girl didn't turn around and have an outstanding life, in the sense of the bigger oneness of the world, if you will, the idea of trying to do something good in this world and trying to make a difference for another person who isn't connected to you in any way, other than somebody you found who needed some help in a home, and you gave that to them for a number of years. And like I said, maybe you kept her alive. Who knows?
Right. Well, that is a good point. I wonder about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things I think about is, what might you, because that's the idea of a roadmap, In other words, you got all these feelings. They're not going away anytime soon. But if you have a vision of, and you talk with your husband later about this, and even your daughter, I think we want to feel proud of what we did. Sure, we might have made a few mistakes along the way, but everything was done with the best of intentions, and we try to make a difference, and we can feel proud about that. And we're going to find other ways to make a difference now.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Does that help?
yes, it does. Very much so.
Okay. Well, that's how this works. Thank you for calling,
Great.
Peggy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Bye
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that's sort of what I wanted to talk about on the show anyway today. So thank you, Peggy, for calling. And the whole idea was, can we do something for someone else? And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. We're not always successful even when we have the best of intentions. But I think people need to feel the pride that comes from reaching out and doing something for somebody else. It doesn't always work out. It doesn't always turn out perfect. But, sometimes it doesn't have to. But I think, it's kind of like that old expression about when the horse throws you, get back on that horse. And if that's a dangerous horse, then maybe get back on a different horse. That's sort of what my message was to Peggy. You can't really maybe help this young woman any more than what you've already done. And so you got to move on from that. I mean, not that you're never there for her, but that you got to let go of that and find the peace that you need by just accepting the fact that you did your best. You did a lot of nice things for someone else. Maybe you helped keep them alive. Who knows? And also, you want to feel some pride in making an effort like that, because you put your whole family at risk when you adopt somebody. All the relationships are going to be in flux and change. And yet, what a wonderful thing to do for somebody else out there. And so maybe now it's time at a different age to think about, what else can we do? We like making a difference in this world. We weren't as successful as we wanted to be in that case, but what else is possible? So let me talk to you a little bit about this idea of emotions and how it works. But you did see, I hope, how the emotion roadmap works. And before I jump into the topic I was starting with, again, I'll allow you to call if you feel like, you got moved by that and you wanted to call yourself. So I'll give you the number a couple more times again. I also like to remind you, you're listening to WPKN, 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, serving Fairfield, New Haven, and Litchfield counties, in Connecticut, and Suffolk County in New York, as well as communities around the world via podcast and streaming at WPKN.org. And if you want to listen to more of my shows, the Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel, look up the Emotion Roadmap on SoundCloud. I find is the easiest to use, and you'll find me. And you'll find lots of the shows over the last couple of years since we've been doing podcasts. Or you can find me from shows from even earlier on PRX, the Public Radio Exchange, prx.org. So that's the station. That's how you can listen to more of the shows if you like, past shows. And what else? I wanted to give you the number in case you want to call and you want to get some help for a situation where maybe you're stuck, maybe you're uncertain about how to proceed, like Peggy was. And the number to call is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. 9756, and you're listening to Chuck Wolf, the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. And I'll give you a moment to call if you like. Again, 203-336-9756. So let me tell you a little bit about this idea of emotional intelligence. So I started to say that emotional intelligence, like cognitive or analytic intelligence, can be measured. And when you measure it, you find out that within the concept of emotional intelligence, there are 4 primary abilities. 2 of the abilities are considered to be experiential. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I don't know that I've talked about this on the show before. Experiential is kind of like this. When you first walk in a room and you see somebody else and you see their face, you see their body posture, you see how they're sitting with others or they're sitting alone, and you immediately see an emotion in them. You see they're happy, you see they're sad, you see they're angry, you see they're scared, you see they're calm, you see an emotion in them. And you might sense an emotion in them as well. You might sense in your gut that people are in the room or that person that you're looking at is feeling sad, for instance. Now, most of you recognize when I say that, yeah, that's true. I've walked into rooms and I've seen and felt a sense of what another person is feeling. That's experiential. That's the experiential part of emotional intelligence. What you identify and see in another person or hear in another person or sense in another person. It's just like breathing. You don't always know you're doing it, but you just always are feeling something, and so are others. And when you see and sense what you're feeling and what another person's feeling, that's experiential. You're experiencing those feelings. Now, what's strategic then? Well, strategic is understanding why you're feeling a certain way or why another person is feeling a certain way. So let's just say you walk in a room, you see someone that you expect to be happy, they're sad, and you want to know, why are they sad? That's the understanding part. It becomes strategic by trying to ascertain why someone is feeling the way they feel. And if you hear they're sad for a particular reason, usually sadness is a result of some kind of loss of some kind. Let's say they've lost, lost an animal, a pet or something, and they're very sad because the pet's gone and it's missing. Maybe it's died, but also maybe it's just missing. In any case, something is lost and they're sad. And so you now move to the manage stage. What do you do about that? Do you say, can I help find your pet? Can I offer any support to you to make you feel less sad? Is there something I might say or do that would be helpful? And you start to think about what you can do as a person who may be a friend of this other person that's constructive, that might be helpful. Or you just empathize and say, I'm so sad that you have lost this pet. That's all you say, because that's what you've decided to do. That's how you're going to manage the situation, is you're going to be empathic and share that you feel the sadness that they feel as a result of their loss. This is another choice you might have. You also might try to make them feel better because you have a piece of good news to share. And, while you recognize their sadness, you might say, I'm so sorry that your cat is lost. I do have a piece of good news to share with you that I'd like to share. And you tell them about what your good news is. Anyway, what happens in the experiential part is we just sense or see or hear what another person's feeling without thinking about it, but we just sense it and see it. And then when we start thinking about what to do with it and why it's happening, that's where the understanding and managing comes in. Those are the other abilities. So there's identifying and using emotions. I'll explain using in a second. And then there's understanding and managing. And there's experiential, which is identifying and using. And then there's and then there's understanding and managing. So that's what the abilities are. And you can be rated on how well do you identify. If you think about yourself, are you typically very accurate in assessing what another person's feeling, or do you get it wrong a lot? Sometimes you think you're good and you're not. Sometimes you don't think you're good and you are. But sometimes you're very aware of how well you do this and you're accurate in your own perception of yourself. In any case, what I've discovered is this idea of once I know what somebody's feeling about a situation, something that's happening to them, and I realize that the feelings that they're having make sense, like Peggy's feelings about being sad and upset and guilty and all that. That made sense. And when you first let go of the girl and you send her off to turn her back to the state, it's the sadness. Of course there is. But at some point, you got to let go of the sadness, let go of the guilt, let go of any of the other feelings that might be negative associated with it. Recognize they're real feelings. They have a place. They're legitimate. But at some point, you need to move on. And in terms of moving on, you want to create a set of other feelings to replace them that are better feelings, more helpful feelings, even ideal feelings. In this case, I thought for Peggy, while she thought she'd like to feel at peace, I also thought, what about feeling proud? Doesn't that sort of inspire you a bit? Because look at what you did. Look at what you did for another human being. So that's the idea of how this works. I help people by knowing what the emotions are, what are they experiencing, and then I become strategic about what to do about it. And so if you call, you'll hear me talk about what you're experiencing and then try to be strategic in terms of what would be ideal to feel and then help you plan how to get there. That's the emotion roadmap. That's how it works. And so having said that, one of the things that I know that takes people out of their sadness and depression is to volunteer to do other good things for people. Something that you do for another human being. And one of the ultimate things you can do is adopt somebody, which is what Peggy and her husband did. Doesn't always work out perfectly, but as I said, who knows, maybe you saved that young girl's life. So what I'd like to know from you, if you're near a phone and you got something that you've done for others, or you know somebody else that's doing some neat things for others, I'd like to share all the different ways people might volunteer. I'll tell you about a few in a moment, but I'll give you a chance to call. If you've got something to either ask me about, something challenging you, then call about that. And if you just feel like sharing something on the radio where you feel really pleased and proud and satisfied that you or somebody you're close to has done something really neat for other people in some kind of volunteer capacity, I'd love for you to share that. And I'd like to get on a roll if I could. So pick up that phone, give me a call. I'm talking to you. If you know something, share it. I'd like other people to hear what people are doing so that it just generates lots of ideas, because the more we hear about things that others are doing to help out, to make this world a better place, the better we all feel about life. And that's sort of the goal of the show in some ways. So give me a call, 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. I'll give you a moment. So I know that people who listen to WPKN do a lot of good things for a lot of people. So give me a call, 203-336-9756. Well, let me tell you about a few of people close to me. One of them is my daughter. My daughter is very concerned about a lot of the migrant children that are being misplaced and mishandled and so forth. And I imagine a lot of you are as well. So she and someone that she's close to discovered that a lot of them are missing footwear, and that there was a particular kind of shoe and boot that they decided, the community decided that they would like to get for these kids in some of the places where they're being held. And they got the actual shoe sizes that many of these kids needed. And she put up a website, and people from all over the place now, I think she did this via Facebook, and the posting has gotten a lot of traction because people want to do something to help out some of these children. And there's all kinds of footwear going to this address in Albany, New York, where it's being distributed to kids, at least in different places where they're getting shoes that they need, and you can click off that you've taken care of that particular child. And so you know you're doing something specific for a child. There's also something I'm doing myself. Oh, we got a phone call. Great. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who's calling?
Hey, this is William.
Hi, William. Thanks for the call.
So I helped a friend of mine who's was a Mexican immigrant, and he's basically, was not legal, but was trying to become so, and I was one of his co-sponsors that sort of helped him finally attain his green card.
Oh, good for you. That's great.
Yeah, and I don't think I really did that much, but I think I, at least was pushing him, to take the steps, to finally get it done. And it took a while. With all, I think he went through about 2 or 3 different lawyers, but finally it was achieved. And he's a great guy. He works very hard, and the way it is right now here with the current situation, it definitely, I thought, was a positive thing to take place.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I imagine it feels really good that you were able to help him. And also from his standpoint, I got to believe that anybody that was willing to be a co-sponsor and actually helped him get over the finish line on this is someone he's going to forever remember.
Yeah. He's actually back down in Mexico seeing his mom, who, wasn't able to travel freely, just to go back and see his family. And now he's back down there visiting, and he'll be back in a week or so. And so it was a really positive experience for him and for me.
Well, William, we don't hear a lot of neat stories about illegal immigrants in our country that successfully, managed to get over the finish line in terms of qualifying for a green card, and so that's great for being able to share that. Again, I just think that anybody that makes some effort to do something that makes the world a little better place, it's a kindness, and it's one of those things that for me, it makes me feel better that there's somebody like you out there doing that, and I hope more people who might know somebody that might need that help are willing to step up because you called today.
Yeah. No, it was I think an important thing to do, and particularly with what we've got going on now.
Sure. Although I would say at any point in time, it's nice when you can do something that helps somebody to achieve a goal. In this particular case, it's because of all the craziness around this stuff. It's particularly a poignant story. But whatever you do for somebody, I think it's great to be able to do a kindness for another person.
Yeah, of course. So great. I love your show. I listen to it often, so I just thought I would chime in with that experience.
That's great. Thanks so much for calling, William. I really appreciate it, and thanks for doing that. And thanks for sharing that story. Take care.
Of course.
Bye-bye. Okay, have you got a story for me? 203-336-9756. Have you or someone you know done something for somebody else that you might share? Again, it's uplifting to hear those kind of stories. So give me a call if you've got something. 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. So let me tell you about something that I'm doing. So I've mentioned at different times on this show that I've done some work with this group called No Labels. And No Labels is a group in Washington, D.C. You can look them up on the web, nolabels.org. And they're trying as hard as they can to encourage bipartisanship among our congressmen and women and among our senators. And they're really working hard and have had some success with something called the Problem Solvers Caucus, and that's a group of 24 Democrats and 24 Republicans who have signed a pledge, actually, to work together and to create bipartisan legislation. And if 50% of the Democrats in a group all agree that a piece of legislation is a good piece of legislation, and 70% of both groups agree that it's a good piece of legislation, then they all agree to vote for it. And that's substantial because sometimes the pressure from each party to be oppositional is intense. We saw it when President Obama was in office. We see it with President Trump in office. You can make your own case for why it's happening, but irrespective, we know it's happening. And my involvement in trying to make a difference is to get more people to solve problems. I think it's counterproductive to constantly be insulting or being combative or confrontational. I mean, I get that happens occasionally, but it's happened way too frequently, at least the way I feel about things. And so I thought, gee, No Labels, that sounds interesting. What's that about? And I investigated it, and I got very excited about this idea that people are really working hard to get people to want to work together. And in the Senate, they have the problem solvers are in the House of Representatives. But in the Senate, they've got a couple people in the chairs, Joe Manchin in West Virginia and Susan Collins in Maine. Those are, again, two senators, a Democrat and a Republican, who are trying to work collaboratively to solve all these major problems that we have out there, whether it's taxes, immigration, healthcare. We got so many, it's hard to keep track. But one of the things that I wanted to do was to have more outreach to people in the communities, like in Connecticut or in other states. I know some of you are listening in New York right now. I'll get a call. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who's calling? Hello? Oh, lost the phone call, so you can try again. 203-336-9756. Anyway, one of the things I was saying about No Labels is that there's a group of people, not a big staff, that works very hard to try and create this in Washington, D.C. And they have outreach. They have phone calls that if you want to get on their phone calls and listen to what they're doing, you can listen in. They have a free line, a line that you can call in that allows you to listen to what they're doing and occasionally ask questions. Well, one time last year in March of 2017, they had a big conference, and people paid their own way, but who were members of No Labels. It just cost $10 to join or something. And then we went down to D.C., and I went to my congresswoman's office, and I went to my two senators, Senator Blumenthal and Senator Murphy's offices, and we got to speak to them about bipartisanship. And I'd have to say that, at least with our congresswoman, we had a lot of success. The senators, well, make your own judgments, I guess, if you live in Connecticut. But their goal was to try and encourage people to work more across the aisle to get things done, to stop name calling, to stop being obstructionist, and to really try hard to find ways to compromise in the interest of what's best for our country. And so after that conference and listening to all kinds of speakers who were very inspiring, I came back really excited to see what I could do personally back in Connecticut to make this happen more, to encourage more people to be bipartisan. And I learned a few things, and I'll share those in a moment. But one of the things that I learned over this last year or so, since March 2017, is that the outreach in terms of what somebody like me who's interested and wants to do more as a volunteer, it wasn't really strong. It wasn't really engaging. And over time, because I help to create engagement in companies, it's a lot of what I've done over the last 30 years of my life. I actually am now going down to volunteer sometime to work with the national team in No Labels to see if we can create some procedures, some processes, some concrete steps that will engage people across all 50 states to work really hard to find candidates to run and to support to go into office in this next election and then 2 years from now when there's another presidential election, to see if we can make a difference, to stop all this polarization, and to see if we can find ways to find a better America, to be a better America in terms of people working together to solve all these great issues that we have in front of us. And we have plenty, folks. I mean, the idea of Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security running out of money at some point, that's real and nobody's talking about it. What do we do about health care and what's happening now? Who knows what's really happening now? It's not a good story. What is it going to be better? I don't know. But what if we had people sitting in a room together trying to figure out what would be better? Anyway, I'm convinced that we could be sending people off to Congress that are more bipartisan, and I'm really excited about the chance to work to help make that happen. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Oh, hi, Chuck. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Who's this? You want to give me a name to call you?
I'd rather not give a name.
Well, I mean, how about if I call you Joe then? I just so I can talk.
Okay, that's cool. You can call me Joe.
That's good. Okay, Joe. So what can I do for you today?
Well, you said if I had a story.
Yeah.
I have a story. I was dating this girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to really like her, and it turned out that she, kept coming to where I worked, and just everywhere I went, she was following me around, and I thought she liked me,
Uh-huh.
So I put it out there to her, and she says that, she has, that there's someone else, and she doesn't want to be with me. So I just thought it was kind of strange that she continues to come to where I work and comes to see me, and that's my story.
That is strange.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm a lost dog without a girl.
so I'm not sure how I might be helpful to you, but let me just ask you a question or two about it. Have you asked her why she's coming to your workplace? I mean, have you had that conversation?
No, I haven't really gone into it because I think I like the fact that she keeps coming around.
And so you're hoping at some point that maybe whatever's intriguing her becomes important enough somehow that she's not with somebody else. She might be with you at some point.
Exactly.
So you don't want to press it too hard on this. Okay.
No, not on this one.
So you're wondering about what to do to cultivate the relationship, I guess?
Well, I want her to know if she's listening.
Ah.
Baby, you're the greatest. Just like the honeymooners, right?
Oh, there you go. So that's in case she's a WPKN listener.
That's the first time I ever called the radio. That's cool.
And why wouldn't she be listening to WPKN? We're the #1 rated music station. I don't know if she's listening to a talk show, but I know we got that award from Connecticut Magazine this year. So, well, I hope, Joe, I hope that you find something with this woman or somebody else. Sounds like you're looking for somebody to be hanging around with, and someone that does want to be with you. That's pretty clear. Sounds like you already had that conversation. And I guess for the little bit of what it's worth, kind of advice is I just keep being nice and keep being pleasant and never ask for much more than what you're getting, and hopefully it grows over time.
Hey, by her visiting me at work and coming around, it's keeping me out of the strip bars. Just thought I'd throw that out there. All right.
Well, that might have turned around what you said before, but okay.
All right. Well, look, I'll take it easy.
All right. Thanks for the call, Joe. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Not sure how helpful I was on that one, but you try, right? It's kind of like, the reason I do this show is because I want to make a difference for folks, right? I mean, that's the point of the show, is to try and find some way that I might be helpful to any of you out there that got situations that you'd like to call and talk about. I got time for one more if you want to call. So 203-336-9756 if you call right now. I'll wait a moment. 203-336-9756. Okay, so I'm just going to again mention to you that the show is about taking the wheel and controlling how you feel. I'll get one more call. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm calling to share my story.
Okay, and who are you?
Hi, my name is Laura.
Laura, thanks for the call, Laura. Okay.
Hi, my story is I am a teacher in New York City.
Uh-huh.
And what I do for people, along with my students, is we go and we paint murals in buildings where people live for their residencies, just to beautify their living spaces.
That's a lovely story.
Yeah, it's a great feeling to do it, too. Where you get, paint gets given to us from local paint stores, and what we started to do, which made it change up a little bit, was when we're on our third mural now, and on our second mural, the residents wanted to be more involved. So it's a great feeling to have them come down and put their input into where they're living, and also take a part of it, where one of the women who work in the building said, this woman here who lives here, she never does anything, and you have her painting.
Awesome.
She said it's just a great feeling just to see her get up out of her room and come down and want to participate in this project with you. So we have 30 buildings to do, and we're on building number 3.
So that must be a wonderful feeling for you, I imagine, for you just to be doing this and to be getting people to enjoy the artwork, but it also must be it's this wonderful messaging for the kids that you're working with, that you're bringing with you.
It's a great community service for them. Yeah, they love it. And then the results that they get from, we make it a whole thing. We interview the people living there. What is it that they want to see? And then we try to meet their needs. And when the kids that do this with me see the results in the final project, it's a great motivation for them, too, and a good feeling all around.
Well, Laura, do you get to listen?
Win-win all around.
Are you first listening to the show for the first time, or are you someone
It's my first time listening to the show, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, if you ever have some of the kids with you and you want to call back up and they can talk about their experience doing it, I'd love to have them on the show with you.
I would love to do that. And you'll have to I don't know how to get the times that the show is on. Or...
I can tell you, it's pretty simple. It's the first and second Wednesdays of each month from 12 to 1.
Okay, perfect.
And
If
so
you were
feel free to call in
back up
anytime I'm
again.
doing a show. You know, sometimes I have an interview show, but that I don't allow calls. But most of the time, it's about people calling in and sharing their stories, and your story is a great one. And it's so nice when you can be a model and involve others in doing something really nice for the community, because I'm sure it feels great for them. That's why I'd love to have them on too.
I will definitely do that once we gather them all back up again. I'll get in touch with you and see how we can make some kind of arrangement for that. They would love to talk to you too, I'm sure. Definitely.
Well, if you want to pick a certain time, let me give you. Do you have a pencil or something you can write with?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me give you my email. That's the easiest way probably to call.
Okay. Yeah, and then we can
Yep.
put this through there. Thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you. It's C for Charles, J for James, CJ Wolfe, my last name WOLFE at CJWOLFE.com.
FE.com. Okay, I'll definitely send you an email and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you for this inspirational day today, too. Thank you.
You betcha. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. I'm Chuck Wolf, and this show is broadcast on WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, serving Fairfield, New Haven, and Litchfield counties in Connecticut and Suffolk County in New York, as well as communities around the world via podcast and streaming at WPKN.org. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm on the first and second Wednesdays of each month from 12 to 1 p.m. Bye-bye now.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.